Thanks for watching so far. We're back with the TW 200 here. We've got it pretty well all back together. I've left the seat off because there's a few things that I want to go through before I take this thing on a test ride as far as safety and reliability purposes. One, the customer had already taken the tank off, so I don't have the bolt for the tank or the seat here. So I'm gonna have to put some in there temporarily while I test ride it. The first thing I wanted to do though is go over a few things. First, we want to make sure that it starts and runs correctly. We did the carburetor. If you watched the last video on this, we went through the carburetor and found out that the needle seat was damaged from somebody using pliers. It was damaged because whoever worked on it last took the seat out like this, or tried to. You can see where they grabbed it multiple times, and that damages the brass on the inside of here, and then your needle will leak. You should grab it like this, give it a little bit of a twist, and then pull it out. Or if you can get on it like this, but never grab it by the inside. That'll damage that seat, and then this needle here will not set down in there correctly, and then it'll cause it to leak here at the rubber tip. So we replaced that, found out that this vent line was also clogged right here. You can see where it pinches in between the subframe. That's where dirt and debris and stuff, you can see something falling out of it when I right there, but dirt and debris and stuff right there where it's pinched by the swing arm, it'll get clogged up there very easily. So we got that vent tube taken care of. The pilot jet was clogged. We cleaned the entire carburetor, adjusted everything. There was an O-ring missing that I didn't point out when I took it apart because I didn't notice it, but it's actually where the choke tube, where it gets its fuel from, that comes down into the carburetor bowl. It's a little different than most carburetors. Most of them don't have this, but there's actually an O-ring missing that goes around that pipe and seals to the float bolts. So it was leaking there as well. We replaced the ignition coil just because we had a new one. The last video we replaced the fuel petcock. I put the original CDI back on there. This is the new one. Put the original back on because I don't believe that it had an issue. We adjusted the valves, checked the timing, checked the oil. You can see low line, high line. It's pretty much to the high line. At this point, let's go ahead and try and start this thing up, see if it runs. We'll make sure that the fuel is on the new petcock there. It is on. The choke is off right now. We're trying to start it without the choke at first just to see, and we may have to apply the choke. Kill switch is in the run position. Let's try and start it. Clutch in. Let's make sure it comes back down to a nice size. Okay, not bad. We're not leaking fuel or anything from the float valve leaking. Everything sounds good. It may be a little bit rich and idle. I may have to adjust the idle and the mixture screw a little bit. On this bike, it has a flathead tip. You can get this. This tool's handy to have. It's basically a screwdriver that's at an angle, and you can put different sockets in here for whatever mixture screw you have. And how that works is you stick it in just like this and get to your mixture screw on the bottom of the carburetor, and then you can adjust it. Usually you'll start about a turn out or a turn and a quarter out on these. And what you want to do is let it run and idle while it's warm. Use that tool, back the mixture screw counterclockwise, take it out like you're taking a screw out, but do it in like quarter turn increments. And you'll want to hear the, when you're backing that out, you're letting more fuel in at an idle. So you want to hear the idle pick up, and then when you go too far, it'll start to stumble because it's too rich. At that point, you want to go back in clockwise until you've achieved the highest, smoothest idle, and then you want to set your idle screw once you get that at a smooth idle. I've already done it to this one, so I don't really want to do it again, but that's how you do it. Now, before we take it on a test ride, the only other thing I want to do is go over some safety stuff, and then I also want to check the charging system here. So let's go ahead and get our multimeter here, and we'll check and make sure this thing is charging, because it does have a new battery in it, which it's an old bike, so it should have probably a new battery in it, but that could mean that the old battery is having issues, and I just replaced the battery and it's got a charging problem. So the way we're going to check that is we're going to put our voltmeter on DC volts, and then we're going to run these leads. You're going to put your negative to negative and red to red, and all we're going to do is check the charging voltage at the battery itself. We're setting at 12.13 there, which is a little low. I need to charge this battery, but we want to make sure that the machine's charging it when we start it. So we'll go ahead and start the machine. Okay, you can see when I was revving it, it was charging up to like 12.4. I'm not sure that that's significant. There could be an issue with the, it'll either be the charging coil on the stator, or it will be the regulator rectifier, which is right here. And those can affect the charging. This regulates the charging, meaning it doesn't let it overcharge. So if you have the AC voltage coming from your charging coil on the stator down at the flywheel, and it's reaching here, but you're not getting the correct charging voltage out of the regulator rectifier at your battery, then the issue would be the regulator rectifier. If you're not getting the AC voltage out of your stator, then the issue would obviously be the stator. With that said, there's also a 12-volt feed here and a ground that could have issues not powering the regulator rectifier, or also not letting the voltage travel back to the battery. A bad ground will also not let the voltage travel back to the battery. I actually think it definitely is not. I'm going to verify in the manual what this one should charge at, and we may have to check a charging system issue here. But let's try and jump in and go in some of the safety stuff so we can take this on a test ride and make sure that it runs correctly first. So when it comes to safety and you're going on a test ride, you don't want to crash a customer's bike, especially because of some stupid bonehead mistake that was made. So a good thing to do is just go over the whole machine, look for loose bolts, put a T-handle on every bolt, make sure it's good. This one, I usually like to start at the brakes and the throttle, because those are the things you're operating the most. We went through the throttle on this. It had a sticky throttle. The cables were routed wrong. They actually were routed here, coming down here and crossing over the frame under the gas tank, and I was putting them in a bind, so the throttle was not working. I took this down, sanded it down, cleaned it up, routed the cables the correct way. You want to check with the steering wheel in both positions that you do not have a sticky throttle. You can see there it doesn't stick anywhere in its travel. The next thing after I check the throttle, like I said, I like to check out the brakes. While you're checking out the brakes, you can get down here and check out the wheel bearings. First of all, make sure it spins nice and freely. There's no grinding or anything. Then you can check the wheel bearings by grabbing the wheel by the top and the bottom and seeing if there is any wobble. There is none in this one. Feels nice. You can also check the steering stem bearings, the headset bearings, which are going to be in here, by grabbing the front wheel and seeing if the machine has any play right there when you rock it back and forth. This does not. The bearings are a little dry though, and the way I know that is because it's very notchy in the steering. I would recommend that the customer fix that. It will make this bike handle a whole lot better, and obviously you won't have rust problem in there. Now let's make sure our front brakes operate. First of all, make sure everything is there. We're going to check the brake here. We're going to spin the wheel, grab the brake, stops nicely. I adjusted these the other day while I was out here just fooling around the garage, the front brakes, so they're nice and how they're supposed to be. I do want this to return a little better. I'd recommend to the customer that we take it apart down there, clean it up to where it pivots a little better so this can return a little smoother. There is a spring down there on the pads that should allow this to return a little better. It returns, but it's a little, it may be up here where it's a little dirty. Now we can move to the back and do the same thing there. The first thing I like to check when we come to the back of the bike, same thing. Check the bearings in the wheel. Spin the wheel, make sure there's no crunching sounds. You hear the chain, a little noisy. You can at this point you can check your adjusters too to make sure the wheel is within alignment on the machine. Over here we're at a 5. On this side we're also at a 5. You can get behind the machine, make sure that the wheel looks in line with the machine, which it does. You can check where the sprocket rolls on the chain. If you look at that, this is kind of a fine-tune adjustment. It looks like the sprocket is riding to this side of the chain, which would mean that this side is back too far, this side is in too far, and it's making it ride a little sideways. So I'll recommend to the customer to do an adjustment at the rear wheel, adjust the chain tension, clean the chain up, lubricate it, and get it lined up on the sprocket so we don't have a weird wear. Now we can check the brakes in the back, make sure everything is there. Spin the wheel, push the pedal, working as it should. Honestly, think it could be quite a bit tighter. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this lock nut a little bit. Make sure it still free spins. It's better. I do know when I got this thing started up, it does have an exhaust leak right here. That sucks. Maybe we can get that welded shut or something, or get lucky and find a new exhaust for this thing. But it is kind of obnoxious sounding. We can check the chain tension. This one may be a little loose, not too bad. Like I said, if the customer wants to do everything back here with alignment, we can adjust that, clean up the chain, lubricate it. Make sure everything is nice up here, the clutch linkage, make sure it's functioning. Make sure it has the correct free play, feels like it does. Check over all your work. Everything seems okay. You can also check the swing arm pivot bearings by moving the whole rear wheel and swing arm. Everything feels good there. So at this point, I'm gonna let it down. And what I'm gonna do now is check the horn, the headlight, tail light, and this one does have turn signals. It's important on these because you have to have it to pass inspection if you want to make it street legal. Has a horn. Check the turn signal, left. Good. Remember the battery's a little low. You probably heard the turn signal switch. You can hear it clicking a little weird. The engine's not running, so nothing's charging in. We're operating lights, and it's got low battery as it is. The headlight probably does not turn on unless the machine's running. I would assume. I'll check that when it's running. The tail light. See there, it's on. There is a taillight switch on this model. You can see it right here. You want to make sure that's lighting up. When you press the brake light, it looks like it's either lit up all the time or it's not lighting up. What we can do there is take some tension off of it. And when I took some tension off of the switch there, the brake light dimmed. I don't know if you can see that. On, dim, on. So this is a little tight here, and you can see they have it just a way out. Maybe they did that because they want it on all the time if they're riding gravel roads or something out in the country, and they want people to be able to see them. So I'm not going to change that right now. We're going to leave it on all the time. If they want to change it, we will. So all the lights work. Everything safety-wise seems okay. You can check the kickstand, make sure it operates as it should. It should stay up. It does. Check your pegs, make sure they're not loose or anything. We're gonna go ahead, put the seat on this thing, take it for a test ride. As of right now, the only issues we know that we have, one, we're missing the bolts for that and the seat. Two, we have a no charge situation that we're gonna have to dig into. Three, the rear end could use a little bit of alignment and the chain could use some maintenance. Everything else I think we're good on. Let's go make sure it runs okay. The last thing we want to do, check the tire pressures. On most bikes you can find it. Some bikes it'll be printed on the sticker on the swing arm. Some newer bikes, I believe on the Hondas it's right here, on the motorcycles on the crossbar. The ATVs it's on the fender on a sticker. On this one, there it is right there. It's actually up here on the VIN number. It looks like the front is 22 psi and the rear is 25 psi. Cool. Let's see what it has. What's your guess? I'm gonna guess Less than 15. Less than 15, I was correct. I was hoping I had some in it. A little bit off. On skinny tires like this, you barely have to touch this and it lets out a lot of air. The same with putting it in. You see right there, we're exactly 22 PSI. Now we'll go to the back and do the same thing. We want it set at 25. Odds are it probably has a small leak if it's completely empty. What do you think? This one's supposed to be 25. I'm gonna guess that one had nothing, so I'm gonna guess less than 15 again. It's nothing. I'm probably gonna recommend to the customer that we check for leaks on the tires. All right, 25. We'll put the valve stem cap back on, and then we'll start this, put the seat on, start this thing up, take it for a little cruise. Rear brakes work, clutch seems to work. The clutch is probably going to be a little bit stuck or sticky if it hasn't ran in a long time, so there's a chance when I put this in gear it just dies. Tried to. It didn't die, but it jerked forward quite a bit. That was a little better. That may go in with our charging situation. It may be part of the same problem. Yeah, the headlight should definitely be on. We have no headlight and we have very weak battery charging. Those could be part of the same issue. We'll have to note that, let the customer know. For now, that thing ran great. I mean, there was zero hesitation at all. It was actually pretty peppy for a 200 that's a trail model, you know, in 1987. The thing, that was actually pretty fun. It runs good. Obviously, I want to ride it some more. The exhaust is a little bit annoying, so I don't really want to ride around the neighborhood too much. I need to get that taken care of right there because it is annoying. But it runs great. I think we're done with this thing as far as the running issue. I'm going to take it and ride it some more, obviously, because you don't want to just ride it for up and down the street once. You know, there could be issues pop up when it gets really hot and stuff like that. So you want to put some good time on something when you're test riding it. But as you can see here, we replaced a few things, took some new parts off that weren't needed. The customer could sell this now if they want to, get their money back, or just have it for a backup. We replaced the needle and seat. Remember, because there was damage to the seat from pliers, we fixed a vent tube that was clogged up. Yeah, I hate this fuel line. It's so stiff, it's like plastic. We replaced the ignition coil, really for no reason. It was still working, but they had a new one already because they thought that might be the issue, and this one's kind of clapped out. So we went ahead and just replaced that for him. We replaced the petcock. We cleaned the carburetor. We adjusted the valves. We checked the ignition timing. We went through the whole bike as far as safety and noted the things that could use some attention. I would also recommend an oil change. It looked pretty dark and dirty. The level was fine, but I would recommend an oil change to the customer. That's something else that that's ways you can upsell things. And it's not that you're trying to upsell, it's that you're trying to improve the liability on yourself. Meaning, if this thing goes out of here, say that oil is in really rough condition, it really needs change. Say this thing leaves out of here perfectly fine, and then they get it home and say that oil causes something, the crank locks up, something like that. Well, that looks bad on you, even though it's not your fault necessarily. That looks bad on you. So anytime something leaves my shop, I note it. I note the issues. I let them know, hey, this may be an issue. I would recommend taking care of it. Then you let the customer ultimately make that decision, and you don't have to be the one to pay for it in the end. It's not that you're trying to, you're not trying to be a used car salesman with the customer. You're not trying to upsell them. You're trying to increase the liability. One, for the customer's safety. Two, for their for the money that's coming out of their pocket, you know. And three, you're protecting yourself. If you take a lot of pride in doing this stuff like I do, you don't want comebacks. When I was really young and first working in some dealerships and stuff, I had some comebacks, and you have to learn. I mean, most of the time you learn by failing. Now, I worked at a dealership for a long time, for a while, and I didn't have one comeback, not one. And that's kind of insane. But that's how serious I take it, and sometimes that kind of digs into your profit a little bit. But in my opinion, a little less profit is better than comebacks, because everybody loses money on a comeback. So yeah, sorry, just spilling the beans a little bit on some stuff that are my opinions and my own. So take it for what it's worth. But we're gonna get this thing off the stand, out of my garage. We'll test ride it a little more later. We're gonna let the customer know we took care of those issues. We're gonna let them know the issues that we found, see if they want to fix them or take it like it is. You never know. But at least we talked to them about it. Yeah, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully I'll have some more content up for you. It's kind of hard for me sometimes. I work a lot at my regular job, and I don't get to obviously live in a neighborhood, and I don't get to work on things the way I want to. When I come home at night, it's hard for me to, one, record everything, two, have the time to do everything, and three, be able to start and run stuff and be loud around the neighborhood here. So sometimes I end up skipping making videos just because I really can't. I need to focus on the task at hand, if that makes sense. So if I've skipped some things, I'm sorry, but that's why. Hopefully I can improve that situation at some point, but that's just kind of where we're at. Thanks for watching.